Yesterday, Elon Musk made an announcement, a world-shattering announcement. When he takes over Twitter, he's probably going to readmit Trump, which makes sense because, again, Trump was banned from all social media in the aftermath of January 6th for no apparent violation of the rules. And he may have said stuff that you don't like. He said a lot of stuff I wasn't hugely fond of on Twitter. That does not mean that he violated the rules such that a ban, like you still have Ayatollah Khamenei on Twitter. You still have the Taliban on Twitter. So, yeah, no. So Elon Musk said this yesterday, and of course the left went crazy.
I do think that it was not correct to ban Donald Trump. I think that was a mistake because it alienated a large part of the country and did not ultimately result in Donald Trump not having a voice. He is now going to be on Truth Social, as will a large part of the right in the United States. I guess the answer is that I would reverse the perma ban. Obviously, I don't own Twitter yet, so this is not like a thing that will definitely happen, because what if I don't own Twitter?
Okay, so he's correct that removing him did not actually prevent him from getting his message out there. Also, there's this general perception on the left that when you just ban people from social media, that somehow this reduces their impact massively. And then they say, well, what if Hitler had been on Twitter and he had been allowed to spew his propaganda? Well, I mean, Hitler was largely restricted by the German government under the Weimar government. It didn't stop him from taking over the country. That's not to suggest that anything Hitler said was worthwhile, obviously. That's to suggest that repression of speech generally is not the answer to virulently evil speech. Jack Dorsey then tweeted, I do agree, there are exceptions, illegal behavior, spam, network manipulation, etc. Generally, permanent bans are a failure of ours and don't work, which I wrote about here after the event and called for a resilient social media protocol. I mean, that's kind of right. So what does that mean politically? Well, I mean, if Donald Trump had said, for example, that he's not actually going to go back on Twitter. He says he's enjoying his time on Truth Social because, of course, he apparently owns a piece of Truth Social, right? So it doesn't make a lot of market sense for him to go back on Twitter. I'm not sure that he can resist the siren call of Twitter, because that, of course, is where he got so much feedback. And so were he to be readmitted to Twitter, he thinks it would maximize his sort of exposure, which is true, because the entire left-wing media was basically run by Donald Trump's Twitter. He would shine a flashlight on something, the entire media would scurry over there. It's like a cat following a flashlight on the wall. Now, the bad news for Trump going back on Twitter is that it also means that people are re-exposed to some of his most absurd thoughts. And the fact is that Twitter was not a friend to Donald Trump overall. I know there are a lot of people on the right who believe that Twitter was Trump's best asset. What I will say is it could have been his best asset if he had used it in anything remotely like a disciplined manner, but he didn't. I mean, I would say 80% of the controversies that he stirred up were because he decided to tweet something wild on Twitter, as opposed to using it in weaponized fashion. So him going back on Twitter and then tweeting incessantly about election 2020 while we are looking forward to election 2024, or tweeting incessantly about holes in one while the rest of America is still worried about inflation, like that ain't going to help him very much. One of the things that has helped Trump enormously is the fact that he is less exposed. The truth is that if Donald Trump had run Joe Biden's campaign in 2020, he probably would still be president. If he had just gone to the basement and let Joe Biden be the focus of the election, he might still be president today. And if he wants to be president again, that's still his best strategy. So him coming back on Twitter, I think Democrats actually might want it more than Republicans do, because him back on Twitter doesn't really change the math for Republicans, but it does change the math for Democrats, who get to make him the ultra MAGA, super MAGA, hyper MAGA, mega MAGA feature story every single day. Who's got two thumbs and wants you to like and subscribe?